At 11:42 on a cold March morning, Captain Daniel Wade felt a sudden, violent shiver. Another engine seized at 28,000 feet over the North Sea with a sickening shudder. He was 27, a former civilian glider instructor from Oregon, with 19 bombing missions completed. Nothing in his training prepared him for this silent descent 90 miles from the nearest land. In the next 47 minutes, a quiet determination and unconventional skill would determine fate. The fate of all 12 men aboard rested entirely on Captain Wade's decisions. Captain Wade knew the standard procedure: a double-engine failure over water meant bailout. His co-pilot, Lieutenant James Fisher, was preparing the crew for the frigid North Sea. Water at 42 degrees Fahrenheit promised a maximum of 30 minutes of survival there. Rescue, even with life rafts, was a distant hope, and hypothermia a near certainty. Daniel Wade had spent 5 years teaching people to fly without power. He perfected the art of soaring over the gentle hills of Oregon. He understood unpowered flight in a way no combat pilot could. Wade sensed possibilities where others saw only the inevitable doom. The B-17 manual stated a maximum glide range of only 52 miles. This calculation was based on a combat-laden aircraft and its limitations. Wade believed cleaning up the bomber and retracting drag-inducing elements was possible. Finding invisible currents, he could stretch that glide range by over 40%. His crew, accustomed to raw power, viewed his proposal as a desperate gamble. Gliding a 65,000-pound bomber 90 miles seemed utterly insane. Yet, Wade knew that the true insanity lay in the icy waters below. Born into aviation, Wade had flown since 15 at his father's Portland airfield. By 20, he discovered the silent grace of soaring, learning to maximize lift. He mastered the invisible language of air currents, minimizing drag. When war called in 1941, his glider experience was dismissed as irrelevant. It was deemed irrelevant for the powerful 4-engine B-17 bombers. But Wade carried that knowledge within him, a quiet assurance. Aerodynamic principles transcended engine power in his unique understanding. Now, on his 20th mission returning from Berlin, the lucky lady faced doom. It had become a desperate testament to Wade's unique aerodynamic principles. At 11:37, the No. 3 engine began to falter, its oil pressure dropping. Wade feathered it, a routine response, but 5 minutes later, another seized. At 11:42, the No. 4 engine seized with a sound of sharp mechanical failure. Its connecting rod tore violently through the engine casing. With 2 engines gone, the B-17 began to lose altitude rapidly. At 28,000 feet, 90 miles from land, their descent mathematics were stark. They would hit the water in 70 minutes, too low to glide effectively. It was then, at 11:47, that Wade made his extraordinary decision. He courageously overrode the standard bailout order, shocking his crew. He made the audacious decision they would attempt to glide to England. The immediate task conversion at 11:49, he shut down remaining engines. While producing some thrust, windmilling propellers created excessive drag. This drag outweighed any benefit they offered during the glide. The bomber became a silent 32-ton glider, unsettling the crew. The sudden absence of engine noise was profoundly eerie. Wade meticulously cleaned the aircraft, slowing to the B-17's optimal glide speed. Retracting the ball turret, stowing guns, and closing bomb bay doors reduced drag. Retracting flaps and sealing cowl flaps further streamlined the massive bomber. Every possible surface was streamlined, every ounce of drag reduced. By Eventry Fic 2 at 27,400 feet, the Lucky Lady began its unprecedented glide. They were 88 miles from the English coast, hoping for a miracle. The manual's predicted glide ratio meant they should only reach 52 miles. Wade needed to achieve 16.5 to 1, a remarkable 65% improvement. "Watch," he told his co-pilot, a quiet challenge and a promise. Wade's hands barely moved, the aircraft perfectly trimmed, almost flying itself. At 1200, after 8 minutes, they had covered 12 miles and were at 23,600 feet. Still short of their destination, Wade's glider instinct took over. Over land, he would have sought thermals, columns of rising warm air. Over the North Sea, he searched for subtle wind shear. Changes in wind speed could create gentle upward currents for lift. At 12:08, he felt a subtle lift easing their descent rate. It reduced from 350 feet per minute down to 280. Fisher watched the altimeter, asking what was happening in the silent bomber. Wade explained the phenomenon, the altimeter confirming its unlikely truth. They by 25th 3 miles closer at 2,800 feet, 65 miles to go. Their required glide ratio was now a more attainable 13.2 to 1. Hope began to flicker in the crew. They slowly started to believe. Another patch of rising air was found at 12:22, further reducing their descent. Every saved foot of altitude was a foot closer to home. By 12:30, they had covered 35 miles with 53 remaining at 18,200 feet. The required glide ratio had dropped to 11.4 to 1. They were going to make it. Now, a new question arose: where would they land? With no engine power, there would be only one attempt. At 12:37, the navigator spotted the English coast 45 miles ahead. Cheers erupted, the tension momentarily broken, but Wade's job was not finished. Wade knew his job was far from over. Landing a powerless B-17 required supreme precision. Crossing the coast at 14,200 feet, Wade turned towards his home base, 30 miles north. Fisher radioed their emergency, and the tower cleared all traffic, crash crews scrambling into position. Wade entered the landing pattern, flying a high, measured approach. He maintained 120 mph to give himself maximum margin for error. At 12:59, on final approach at 4,000 feet, he realized he was too high. He deployed the landing gear, increasing drag, causing the descent rate to jump. It perfectly bled off the excess altitude at 800 feet per minute. At 13:01, half flaps extended, further increasing drag for a controlled descent. It was a delicate dance between speed and altitude, threading a needle in the sky. At 13:02, the B-17 crossed the runway threshold at 200 feet, 90 mph. Wade pulled back gently, flaring the bomber, controlling its final seconds. At 13:02 and 30 seconds, the main wheels touched down gently. The Lucky Lady rolled 4,000 feet down the runway and stopped. All four engines remained silent, a testament to Wade's incredible skill. The crew sat in stunned silence, home and alive. Engineers later confirmed the destruction of engines 3 and 4. Colonel William Hayes, the base commander, questioned Wade about his unorthodox decision. Wade explained his calculation: survival chances were higher gliding home. This was better than bailing out into the freezing sea. The technical investigation that followed was remarkable, exceeding all expectations. The Lucky Lady had glided 90 miles, losing 28,000 feet of altitude. It achieved an actual glide ratio of 17 to 1, far exceeding the manuals. Wade's techniques, clean configuration, perfect trim, and astute wind shear lift. These each contributed 10 to 15%, adding up to a 70% improvement. In April 1944, the Army Air Force incorporated new emergency procedures. These were directly based on Captain Wade's extraordinary and life-saving flight. Wade completed his tour in May 1944, earning the Distinguished Flying Cross. The citation mentioned exceptional airmanship, but made no mention of gliders. He returned to Oregon, taking over his father's airfield and teaching soaring. He imparted his unique understanding of unpowered flight to thousands until 1975. For years, he kept a photo of the Lucky Lady on his office wall. He quietly told students he flew B-17s, never elaborating on that day. That extraordinary day, he defied military doctrine, remained his secret. It wasn't until 1982, a historian discovered mythical accounts of Wade's glide. He researched B-17 emergency landings and found the incredible story. The historian found Wade, then 65 and still teaching. Wade confirmed the details, yet remained humble about his incredible achievement. He stated any skilled glider pilot could have done such a feat. He simply applied standard soaring techniques, finding lift, minimizing drag, maintaining perfect trim. To him, the B-17 was merely a heavier glider, its aerodynamics identical. He compared it to his 1940 Portland to Eugene Cross country glider flight. Daniel Wade passed away in 1998 at 81, a quiet end to a hero. His obituary spoke of his flight school and military service, but it made no mention of the 90-mile glide or 12 lives saved. Yet, his remarkable flight endures in U.S. Air Force emergency procedures training. his story remains a potent reminder of actual aircraft performance. Maximized by a skilled pilot, it can exceed stringent manual specifications. Sometimes, valuable military aviation skills are not found in official manuals. They are learned quietly, teaching civilians to soar over Oregon farmlands. Daniel Wade proved that a deep understanding of aerodynamics saves lives. Unpowered flight could, in grave emergency, save an entire crew.